Who better to show us the beauty of strength than Stephanie Sanzo? A renowned strength coach, Stephanie inspires women to embrace their power and show up as whoever they want to be. And by her side, Jamie Bissett, the talented strength coach and the man behind the woman, making sure Stephanie shines bright like the diamond she is.
So I'm Stephanie Sanzo. I am a fitness trainer, mother of 2 teens, and I have a fitness app, and I work in the industry. I've been in the industry for maybe 12 years now, I think. And this is my first time at a event like this in Bali with all these amazing women. So I'm really grateful to be here.
And my name's Jamie Bissett. I got tagged along very luckily to this women's event as one of the very few male people that own one of these tops, very proudly now. I've been a trainer for about the same, about 12 years. It was almost the first thing I did when I left school. And then since then have done a couple of things, one of which has included starting a media type enterprise, which we run together, and has led to many different opportunities, this being one of them. And now we actually work together running our app, Lift It. That probably sums it up. Yeah, I definitely feel like an Instagram husband at times. That's for sure.
I don't think it was intentional though. I feel like when you call upon your support person to film and all that kind of thing, it just becomes a regular thing and it turns into that over time, and then you realise that it's full time.
Yeah, it depends how far back you want to go. But like when we first started, training together maybe 8 or 9 years ago now, and then Steph was doing all these really impressive lifts when you were sort of just learning powerlifting, and I was like, we should film some of this stuff. And then I just happened to be a little bit handy with the camera. So I picked one up and she was doing some stuff on social media, and then we just started filming and posting, and then things kind of blew up or eventuated from there, and different opportunities started coming up. And yeah, I never set out to do this as a thing, but then I don't know, the more content that we put out there, the more people couldn't get enough of her, which meant I had a job.
Jamie used to put out a lot of content himself, but he found like doing it for me, you kind of got lazy on your end of things and you kind of enjoyed being behind the camera.
Yeah.
But then there's that like flip side where people don't see you, so they don't get to know you as they know me. And so when you kind of pop your head in and out, they're like, oh, who's that? But he's like completely involved in everything that we do and one of the masterminds behind it, because we're a team, you know, even with the Lift It app, like helping develop that from scratch and all that kind of thing. So yeah, sometimes it's a little hard with that aspect of not being known for what you do, I feel like. And I think even with other influencers, there's always like a great man behind them kind of pulling the strings, and they're the face. So for us, we are now trying to integrate you more into the brand, not only just to support me, but because I want him a part of this with me. And I think that people should also be knowing you, because you have a lot to bring, not only as a trainer, but your knowledge in business and everything else that you do.
So I opened up a gym, which is like a powerlifting gym, back in 2014, I think. That was my original career vision, which we did and was great. I then sold out of that in, I think, 2017. So ran that for 3 years, sold out of my share, and then we kind of partnered up and went our separate way together doing our own thing. But no, it was never my intention to create a media type business, that's for sure. I have always been we've always worked with each other or for ourselves. I've had a few different little gigs here and there over the last decade. I don't think I've had a quote unquote job for, I don't know, over a decade now. So
we realise we don't like working for people. If there's something about ourselves we realise, we don't like, you know, building other people's dreams. We like building our own.
Yeah. But the dream is forever changing, and what that looks like is still almost yet to be determined. It's evolving on a daily basis, that's for sure. But I think we're enjoying trying to impact people doing what it is that has impacted us, which is training. And
yeah, so I feel like women are less afraid to lift and be strong. I feel like 10 years ago they were very intimidated, and it was like a boys' world. You'd go to the gym, it was just all what they call meatheads. So yeah, it was very intimidating for women to kind of go in there and use the weight room. Even with gyms now, they create a women's section, like only section, which for those who are still feeling intimidated, there's a place for them too, which I think that's huge because that's evolved over the last 10 years as well. And then for me personally, I feel like it's changed in the way of how I feel about bodies, I guess, that it's okay to have, like back then it was like you had to be skinny with a small bum and, you know, look a certain way. But now I feel like we're all just dealing with what we've got and making the most of it and being proud of that. And for me, I was never like the ultra little skinny girl. I've always been a bit like, I don't want to say butch, but like thick.
Curvaceous. Curvaceous? What is that?
Oh, delicious. Cringe. We're that couple, by the way, that cringe. We used to be when we first got together. We look at old videos, we're like, oh my gosh. But yeah, so I'm more accepting of my body now than what I was back then. And I feel like there's more of a safe place now. A lot of support from other women that I can feel comfortable just to rep my own instead of trying to undereat or not lift too much because I might get too big. It's just like, whatever, it is what it is.
It's so funny. We were watching a movie the other day, and it would have been, I don't know, 15 years old. I can't remember what it was. But there was a guy and a girl, main actor. A guy comes over to the girl and like whispers in her ear and was like trying to compliment her and said, "Oh, your ass looks so small in those pants." And she was like, "Oh, thanks." And it's funny noting the trends of like once upon a time it was this, now it's like it's
you can never be on the trends because they're always changing. So that's why it's coming back to just accepting you because you are the trend.
I think one thing the industry has done well now is be a little bit more accepting of different body types and different styles of training.
Yeah.
Like once upon a time it was like chicks were on the treadmill and it was
bikini body.
Yeah, it was like the aerobics room and that was all that was, that was all that was available and all that was promoted. Whereas now it's like getting a lot more common, still I think a fair way to go, but a lot more common and accepting for girls to be lifting heavy and doing various different types of trainings where different types of bodies are also accepted and welcomed, which is really cool.
Yeah, I feel the pressure to it's just a funny one because sometimes I feel the pressure to remain really, really strong, even if I'm injured, like going to the gym and always lift heavy instead of just going in and maybe just doing a hypertrophy session where it's all about pumping the weights and just feeling good. Sometimes I push so far in every session that I just exhaust myself and feel pressured that I have to do that because that's what I promote is strength training. So sometimes I can get lost in that. And then also with trying to be lean, like trying to maintain a certain body weight. Like my body weight stayed the same for the last, I'd say 8 years. And I'm like, oh, I must maintain that, must be careful. So I have my own like demons that I battle with and I try and keep my body like a certain same way and don't go outside of that too much. But sometimes it just does and you can't, there's nothing that you're doing different. Sometimes it's just a woman's body. It fluctuates from month to month or week to week even. So that's a hard thing as well, just learning to just accept my own body. Which is why like with the industry changing so much, it's been easier for me to do that. But I still, like any female, have that mental struggle because I am online and I feel the need that I have to live up to that expectation because I am there to motivate people. And if I lose myself, then who's going to be there to motivate them? Where are they going to go if I aren't their hero anymore in a way? And I think like it's a little bit like that. There are people in the industry that are at the top and they're like the 1% and like you follow them and they're doing all this stuff and then suddenly they drop off the planet. Or they completely change their style of everything because they can't maintain that anymore. And I don't like that. I'm like, you should just be like doing it and just being real, not just going with the trend of, well, I've gained 10 kilos and now I'm going to be the girl that preaches about heavy weights. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, just be real that you were actually struggling and you couldn't maintain it. And so, yeah, I feel like for me, I feel the pressure to be the same all the time for the people.
To toot her horn for a second, because she won't. She has maintained incredibly well over the past near decade, which is almost how long we've been putting content out there. And if you scroll back through it, there hasn't been a lot of fluctuation in a bad way. That's for sure. Like you've done a very good job at maintaining your shape, strength, everything like that.
Yeah. I don't like when people are like, oh, do you do a bulk season or do you do this? I'm not very up and down. It's like I'm just maintaining. I just want to maintain in that comfortable spot where I'm not going to get too lean and then I can't maintain, but then get too bulked where I feel uncomfortable and I just don't like myself. I just want to like myself. And I like sitting in that middle place where I can cruise along and just enjoy what I'm doing. So that's what I like, where I like to be. But I do have my struggles like anyone. We're all females, right?
It's hard as well when you get so much feedback, because one of the things I said before is like different body shapes are now accepted, but they're accepted by different groups of people. So like group A is going to be like, oh, you look great. Like you might have put on a kilo and that looks really good. Like keep doing that. Then you've got group B that's like, oh, we like you a kilo lighter. Like can you do that? And then it's like, why aren't you lifting as heavy if you're like in a different cycle of your training or whatever else it might be? Like having so much criticism and noise makes it harder.
Yeah, it's like your hamstrings are way too big. You have no glutes now. Then I'm like, oh, should we change and like focus on the glutes now? And I get lost in that sometimes, trying to please people. And I'm just a people pleaser. That goes back way far into my own young person journey. But yeah, that can be a detriment to me sometimes because I can get lost in trying to just make everyone happy. I feel like for me, it's easier now because I know what works and what doesn't work and what suits my body and not. Sometimes I don't like the way that I have to do things, like that I'm, on the lower carb side of my diet, because that's where I feel like my body sits really well. However, during training, because of that, I lose my energy and may not lift as heavy. And then there's other times where you may be eating a big pizza at nighttime and it's Friday and I'm like, I don't get to switch off. Like I could, but if I do that too much, then I go to film the next day, it starts to show on my body and I have to wait for that fluctuation. Obviously, you don't get fat overnight from eating a pizza, but you're going to gain a bit of water retention from the carbs and the sodium and things like that. And I feel like when that happens and I've got to work the next day, it shows and I can't hide that. So I feel like I always have to constantly in the back of my mind be thinking, well, I've got filming tomorrow, or I can't do that because that's going to affect this for this photo shoot that I've got to do with this company or whatever like that. So yeah, that bothers me.
What she does isn't easy. For a normal person looking into the routine, it's not. Yeah.
Like maybe it's just my normal, so I'm like, it's easy.
It's become normal for you, but for a normal person looking at what you do, like you work incredibly hard.
Yeah. Or like if it's not dietary, maybe it's like my period during training. I don't want to train. I'm like, I don't want to train today, but I have to film and I have to force myself. And then I feel annoyed at myself because I'm not listening to my body and my body's saying, hey girl, like this is your time to like settle and bleed and recover. You know what it's like as women, like there's so much trauma already going on in the inside and then I'm just adding more trauma in the gym and I sometimes get frustrated at me for that. I'm like, I'm not doing right.
Better at that though.
Yeah, I have. But back then I was like, I'm not doing right by my body because I'm just ignoring those feelings of like not having the energy and just pushing training. And then sometimes I'll be crying during my session, like cracking it in between sets and like just losing it. And then I'm like, okay, let's go. And that's not all the time, but there's that moments where it's like, I just feel like, oh, I resent this. But, I don't have to do that. And people don't have to do that, but I just sometimes put the pressure on myself to always be working, always be showing up. Because I'm a 100%er, as they say. All in or nothing. I'm the all in girl. Yeah. Where I'm coming from with that, it's not because I look at myself and think, oh, you're fat. I'm trying to avoid hate. Because if I'm feeling vulnerable and I put something out like that where I feel like I am a little bit fluffy, it's a certain type of person that comments on things like that. So it's like I feel a little bit anxious to let that go because it means I let go of the good people too. Because
she's fostered a community with the people. Like they're not just people. They connect and connect for a reason because they have some level of relationship with Steph.
One way only when it's just so simple at the end of the day and you just need to take the layers off and go back to the basics. But that can be really overwhelming for people and they just don't know where to start now.